Welcome to New York Institute of Technology's podcast, The Scope. Produced by the College of Osteopathic Medicine, our episodes focus on the medical school experience and how it helps shape future physicians. Learn about exciting new health and wellness initiatives, cutting-edge medical research and technology, and how to effectively navigate medical school. We are excited to have you join us.
Good morning and welcome to the Scope Podcast. I'm Alessandro Mercado, third-year medical student and SGA president at NYIT, College of Osteopathic Medicine. I'm really excited to be your host today for our special podcast conversation, Overcoming Procrastination and Tackling the Doomscrolling Problem During Medical School. Please welcome our special guests, second-year medical student and SGA First Vice President Connie Rim, and Dr. Thomas Chan, Associate Dean of Academic Affairs and Associate Professor, Department of Clinical Specialties, Division of Pediatrics. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us today. I'm really looking forward to our conversation, so let's jump right into our first question. All right, so first question to Connie. For the audience, in case you may not know what it is, can you explain to us what doomscrolling actually is?
Yeah, thank you for having me, Alessandro. So doomscrolling is when you're consuming a large amount of news or social media for an extended period of time. And for me personally in medical school, I feel like it's been an avoidance mechanism and it's led to me procrastinating a bit. So that's how it's been affecting me during my studies.
I see. Okay. And I think I've fallen into this loop before where you're kind of watching a TikTok or an Instagram reel for maybe 10 minutes and then it turns into 2 hours. Is that more or less what doom scrolling is?
Yeah, exactly. Especially with apps with short form content where you're just scrolling and going through from one video to the next. I've definitely been in that scenario.
Okay. Thank you so much for clarifying. Also a question for Connie, a follow-up is, when did you realize this was becoming a problem for you, maybe even some of your med school classmates?
So I think in the beginning of med school, I would just go on my phone here and there in between studying blocks. But as the months went by, I noticed I would be scrolling for an hour, even 2 hours. And after each time, I would feel really upset with myself because that time could have been spent studying. But looking back, I think it could have been a sign of burnout.
Yeah. And Dr. Chan, did you have something you want to add to that?
Yes. Well, thanks for having me here. It's always fun to do these podcasts for the school. I want to add on that just to let you know that is very normal for the brain when it's stressed to want to get away and want to keep busy and just not be productive and procrastinate. So it's very normal, but as you mentioned, it's not productive over the long term. And you guys are very, very busy, and you guys kind of know how productive you need to be as efficient as possible. So we try to find a balance. Don't kill yourself for it, but try to put some kind of limits, which is easier said than done, of course.
Thank you, Dr. Chan. And that makes a lot of sense, especially because we work so hard. Everyone wants a little break or a mini vacation every now and then. I think recognizing when it's becoming doom scrolling is important as well. A follow-up question for you, Dr. Chan. How do you think today's digital/social media environment compares to when you trained? And I guess maybe the different outlets students have nowadays compared to back then?
Yeah. So, back then, back in my day, without sounding like, the old guy, like back in my day, we, walked up the hill in the snow, it's true. We didn't have anything similar to what you had. I'm going back probably, I graduated in 1999, so 25 years. The internet was just getting started. We had dial-up. We didn't have smartphones. But what we did was we doom scroll television, right? We still had cable TV with 100 channels, so we would just flip channels and just watch garbage to try to de-stress. So it's different. At that time, it's kind of like we did all that, but now it's almost like we're doing that on steroids, right? Because it's constant, nonstop, and these algorithms are trained to kind of keep you focused as much as possible. So whereas in the past you have the TV on in the background flipping around while you still did stuff, now it's just you're just glued to your phone. So it is very, very different. But I think every generation had that have that problem because, like I said, it's very normal to want to get away and just try to relax and get away from the stresses of life.
Thank you so much for your insight. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have cable anymore in my house, but we have Netflix, which is even more dangerous, especially with Stranger Things that just came out. Let's bounce back to Connie. So, what strategies or boundaries helped you overcome doom scrolling when you noticed it was becoming a problem?
Yeah, so I had three strategies off the top of my head. The first was apps. There's apps out there. The app I use is called Opal that can actually help lock certain social media apps. So you pick what you want to block, like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and you can choose whether to lock it for certain days, let's say Monday to Friday, or for certain hours. So I have mine set up to from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And you can look at it during the day if you want, but the app makes it really, really inconvenient. So you have to wait for really long periods of time. And that just discourages you from reaching for social media apps. The second was reaching out to friends, studying with friends, so you have someone to hold you accountable. And the last one is just deleting apps. It wasn't as hard as I thought it would be, honestly. I deleted TikTok when I had my finals for my last block. And it wasn't as hard as I thought. I haven't re-downloaded it since, so that's another suggestion too.
That's great. Yeah, I've heard about those apps. As someone in another generation, my answer is usually not more technology, but it probably is helpful. Uh, so, yeah, that's might be something I try, or I tell my daughter to try. Because I can see her doom scrolling for hours as well. Um, and I think kind of made a great important point, which is connecting with people, and that because like I said, your brain wants to relax, get away. Uh, Early in my generation, when we were kids, we talked on the phone for hours and hours, right? That's probably our version of doom scrolling at that time. So, but that's healthy, right? Because the problem with doom scrolling is that your brain thinks you're socializing and doing healthy things and keeping busy, but truly it's not healthy. It's I always say it's almost like junk food. It's junk food for the brain. In the short term it feels great when you're eating it, but in the long term, it's not doing you any good and could be actually harmful. So Connie, I commend you for reaching out with friends and socializing, because we all know how important that is.
Yeah, I really like that. Thank you, Connie and Dr. Chan. And I really like the comparison to doom scrolling and social media. It's kind of like junk food for the brain because it can be detrimental over long periods of time. And I highly, highly agree with you that leaning on your classmates, your friends, during my first 2 years of medical school, studying with my friends helped hold us accountable because we would study for hours and then we would play a game of chess or two together. And that was a really good way of de-stressing. So a follow-up question for Dr. Chan. Where do you think the conversation around digital well-being in medical education is headed, especially with AI and technologies coming out?
So that's a tough question, right? Because we're not stopping this digital revolution, right? Back in the days, like, oh, watch less TV or put your phone down. It's not gonna happen, right? It's too much part of our lives. So the question is, how can we integrate it, and put certain boundaries, if possible, because we know AI is here, we know students are using it, but how can you use it? And we know students are using it in a lot of ways, and doctors are using it in the offices, right? Instead of looking things up or trying to remember, they can just look things up. And so there's a lot of utility in it, having access to all this digital, instantaneous information. But again, same thing with doom scrolling. Is like you have to be aware and mindful. I think what it is, like everything, you just have to really be aware of how it's affecting you, mindful of how you use it, and just like the internet, it can be used for good. Look how much you can learn off the internet, right? You can learn languages, all these things. Anytime something breaks at my house, I just go on YouTube and look it up, and you can find, you don't have to call anyone. You can try to figure things out. But just I would say probably being mindful. In medical education, it's hard. It's almost like you have a fight of trying to keep up, because in general medical education goes very slow, right? Historically, it's a very traditional way of teaching, um, and the world is moving extremely fast, and it just gets faster and faster with the digital age. So I can't answer the question. I think it's just we're gonna try to keep up and adapt as we need to.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Chen. Yeah, sorry, I know that was a very loaded question, but the utility of technology and social media is really limitless, especially as we go further into the future. Bouncing back to Connie, a good way to maybe start wrapping up the podcast is what are some of the best and most beautiful ways you've used social media to maintain and build relationships with your classmates nowadays?
Yeah, so I think social media is still a great way to stay connected with friends. I have been trying to lean off of social media and find other ways to make those meaningful connections. One way is I've been setting a goal for myself. So every week I will FaceTime one friend, whether it's a friend from med school or an old friend from college or high school I haven't seen in a while. I'll FaceTime them maybe on my way home from school to try to catch up. And I think that's been a really good goal I've been setting.
Yeah, so a question for Dr. Chan to end on. If people have an issue, if they think they have a problem with doom scrolling, with social media, but they're scared to reach out, what would be your advice to them?
So I deal with this all the time, right? In terms of my patients, every kid with a cell phone is spending too much time on their cell phone, probably doom scrolling, and medical students as well. And it's one of the questions I actually ask when students come to me for help or mentoring advice, is that no one ever volunteers how much time they're spending doing this. Everyone says they're working as hard as they can, which is true, but no one says, but I'm wasting 3 hours every night on this because I don't want to do my lectures or something. So it's a question to always think about for mentors. And if you truly think you have an issue, I would say, start putting, some of the practices that we mentioned today, like Connie says, replacing, friends or contacts with instead of doom scrolling, put on apps that you can control it. I would say to really reflect and say, okay, is this what I want? Is this getting me anywhere? And I think most people realize that it's not, right? Without going too long-winded, whenever I give a teenager this talk about how much time you spend and do you think it's useful, and I start giving them the spiel, you see everyone in the room just nodding their head, including medical students that are shadowing me. They're like, yeah, too much time on TikTok and YouTube. So everyone knows it's true, but it's hard to stop, right? Like I said, the algorithms want you to keep on going. It's like they're hacking your brain to keep going. So you have to kind of break that cycle. I think I do for myself, and I tell other people, is just develop great habits. If you develop great habits and structure and organization, then to break it, right? So before you go to bed, if your habit is to have good, healthy things like you stretch, you brush your teeth, you read for a little bit, you call your mom, whatever it is, then you naturally fall into a habit, and that habit you slowly break the habit of let me just check the news one more time, or let me just see what's going on TikTok for 5 minutes, which turns into 2 hours, and the next thing you know, you're sleeping at 1 o'clock, and you have a 8 o'clock lab, right? So these are the things that I'm always a big habit person. It's changed my life. Like most young people don't have great habits because it takes time to learn, right? So I would say that, and a few of the other things that we mentioned today. Hopefully, it's a very difficult problem. Like I said, technology is part of us, and it wants to be more and more part of us. But we have to try to keep healthy ways of dealing with it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chan. And I think building these good habits is something that you could do at any point in your life, and it's never too late to start. So thank you so much. Thank you to our panel, Dr. Chan, Connie, for joining us this morning and sharing their valuable insights and experiences. This has been such a fun and exciting conversation that can surely benefit medical students, pre-med students all throughout the world. And I know it's definitely benefiting me as they make important decisions on how to manage their time and relationships with social media during the medical school years. So thank you so much, Dr. Chan. Thank you, Connie. And thank you so much to our valued Scope podcast listeners. I hope everyone has an amazing day.